So, the reason I didn't review last week's episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s when it came out was because, well, it didn't get subbed till like Wednesday. And by the time I got to it, it was already Friday. So I figured at that point, I'll just watch it with episode 6. Turns out, reality had some other plans in mind, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Has joined the ever-growing club of anime that have been delayed due to coronavirus. This fairly large and still growing club includes ReZero, it includes Food Wars, it includes the new Digimon, it includes romantic comedy Snafu, No Guns Life, and a ever-growing club of shows. And before we get into the episode, I would like to just give my 2 cents, because some people have been talking about the delays and, you know, their positive and negative opinions on it, and I'd like to just say what I feel real quick. If you want to skip ahead to when I start talking about the episodes, when the picture changes. So, yeah, that's how we're going to do things. So, in my opinion, and this is just what I personally believe, it is a good idea to shut down production until some sense of stability can be returned. And I believe this for 2 reasons. A, it is good that the studio is willing to put the health and safety of its workers above just, you know, deadlines and trying to make a profit. That is a very good thing. The other reason is my heartless, soulless capitalist side. And that is, I personally believe that with all the craziness and stress going on, it would be impossible for animators to put their heart and soul into the shows they are working on, because there's a lot of shit going on in the world and a lot of stress that can affect the way they work. And I'm not saying productions that are still currently going, I am not saying I think any less of those shows, I am not saying I disagree with the desire to still try and work. I simply feel that for me personally, I think that very tightly directed shows like ReZero, like Food Wars, like Snafu, like this new Yu-Gi-Oh! God, it's great to say that again with a straight face. These are productions that need everyone to be on 100%. They are chemical concoctions that partially work because everything about them came together just right. ReZero in particular, which took what ultimately, in my opinion, was a fairly standard isekai plotline and turned it into something great. I think almost solely on the execution alone. Thoughts for another day. But no, so yeah, I definitely feel that that is important, that they make sure that when it is time to go back to work and when it is time for reality to stabilize, they can make the shows the best they can be and allow for that tight production that we know we all want to return to us. Now, I do understand a lot of people right now, they kind of need their fictional worlds. They really do. I have several of mine that are kind of really helping me get through this. They want their escapism. They want those worlds. They want those friends that, you know, anime does bring us. Even if we kind of joke about that and make that sound weird, you are inviting these fictional people to be part of your life. And right now, we're kind of losing a lot of parts of our life. But I do think overall, making sure you can deliver the best thing possible is best. And, you know, if we just hold out a little bit more, we'll get exactly what we want, because we'll get the great storytelling that we expect. And so long as I have Toru's smiling face here in front of me, everything will be fine. Or it won't be. Toru's not real. She can't actually help me, but I need you, Toru. Anyways, so on to this week's episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7. Sorry if that got a little gross for some of you, but here we are. So, last week's episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s starts off pretty much with the plot. Remember that? Remember Yu-Gi-Oh! Shows can have a plot? I'm not knocking this. So, the way the episode opens up is Goha has taken down the video, the new one they did, but the way they sort of show it off seems to make it seem more aggressive. Like, because Yuga hacked the system with his drone, the Goha has actually seemed to be going more aggressive because the video got bigger. And, well, I kind of like this plot progression. A lot of people are saying that they like this new Yu-Gi-Oh, but be warned, it is slow. I would argue it's not actually that slow. The thing is that this plot line revolves around parties that aren't really going to need to do things super crazy. Yuga's not the chosen one. He doesn't have super ancient magical powers. As far as we know, he doesn't have some super strong connection to the villain or a crazy past associated with them. So, like, what is there really for him to do besides just this sort of normal stuff like get the word out about rush duels, make videos, make the videos popular, do all these things to get it well known? Those are actually the logical things for him to try and do, to use what he has available to him and take advantage of it. Goha, on the other hand, doesn't want this coming out, but because Yuga isn't special, as far as we know, they don't really have to do anything crazy. It sort of goes back to what I was saying about what I kind of like about the way this society works is it's oppressive and it's trying to control everybody, but not through like brute force or fear, but through just sort of making everything like seem normal, just through making everything just be a part of everything. Like, you know, we saw the drones don't like shoot lasers or talk in a scary voice. They're cute, they're friendly, but they're also telling you not to think or have any freedom. So when they see something that could interrupt their status quo as they are using dueling to help pass their agenda, they get rid of it. But they're not going to go like hurt a child. They're not going to go out in public or really do anything. They're just going to take the video down. Because, well, there's no need to do anything else yet. So that's all they've done as of right now. But eventually they will have to do something. And we'll get into maybe how that is spreading. So, then we move on to the OP, which is growing on me. I actually quite like it. And then we reach sort of the point of this episode, and that is Yugioh and crew want to team up with the school newspaper, because I genuinely believe in 70 years' time, we will still have paper media. But I do like the idea, and that is Yugioh feels that, well, they keep taking the video down, so if we get print media of what we're trying to do out there, well, they can't really get rid of that so easily. Until they're going to have to. And that's sort of my question, is that's what's going to happen next, is they can't stop rush duels from being quiet. Like, they can't stop Yugioh because he'll keep figuring out a way. So is after a certain point, maybe when there is printed media, maybe when they start seeing more people trying to redo rush duels and rediscover it, is that going to lead to a point where Yugioh forces their hand and they have to do something? See? And because they took the time to build it up, giving you these little snippets of what happens next week's episode, the sort of chess game storytelling of I do this, you do that, I do this, you do that, it's probably going to make it feel worth it, and I think it's going to really be kind of the tipping point when we go in the darker direction, because they are hinting we will do that. So then they team up with the newspaper, and the rest of the episode is mostly comedic relief, but I think there's some good character moments in there. So the big thing is that the article the newspaper posts about rush dueling actually ends up being very negative. And what's sort of funny, to me at least, is that what they show us from the article actually is kind of what people's real reactions to rush duels were, and this sort of whole new Sevens era. The article is about how, oh, it seems childish, it's too easy, it's dumb, all this good stuff. There's no finesse, there's no intelligence. It's kind of the criticism Yugioh is always dealing with. Everyone's always quick to judge everything. Rather it's, oh, the new anime is so dumb, or oh, the new mechanic is so dumb, or Yugioh is dying. I gotta assume Konami knows this is going on, and let's be real here, no one is ever happy. Never let them tell you anything different. No, but I think that's sort of an interesting, almost sort of meta thing. And while I don't normally like shows attacking fans because a lot of times it just turns into not wanting to listen to constructive criticism, I do think this was sort of a fun, not super mean-spirited little wink towards what kind of goes on in the real world when people react to new stuff in Yu-Gi-Oh! And so naturally, Yuga and the crew are rightfully so kind of annoyed, but in a really great character moment, we see that the person who really is the one who leads the charge in getting back at the paper is Rook, not Yuga. And what's kind of interesting here is that based on Yuga's attitude, it almost kind of feels like maybe he would have done nothing. Maybe he would have said, you guys are jerks, but probably would have just gone on his way and come up with a new plan. Because that's Yuga. He's the guy who's always thinking, coming up with something new. Rook, on the other hand, has sort of been assigned all the generic shonen-y masculine traits, and he's like, no, I'm dealing with you guys directly. You guys offended me, you insulted my thing, my passion in life, and therefore I'm gonna get back at you. That is the very shonen-y thing to do, and by assigning it to the best friend, it means you don't have to do that. You don't have to waste stuff like that on your protagonist. So therefore, what is Yuga's contribution? He once again does what might be my favorite thing about Yuga, and kind of uses his words to manipulate the newspaper into agreeing to Rook's duel. That's clever, that's creative, and it makes sure that the characters have well-defined roles and uses. Yuga is the thinker. He's the strategist. He's the guy who's going to come up with the idea, and Rook is the guy who's going to push the idea into action. Everyone has a role, everyone feels really good. So then they move on to the duel, and we of course get the pan-ultimate scene of the episode, and that is Yuga's little robot is horny and has a lolly fetish, because he immediately starts going after the newspaper girl. I didn't even realize that was a girl. And just oh, a cute girl, this one with glasses, and the girl's like, help me! And then the robot goes to Rome's like, you should put on some glasses. I'm like a certain subsect of the internet. And then at the end you see the robot is tied up. I don't know why, it's such a cheap joke and so common these days, but kind of love it. So there's that. The duel is fine, pretty standard, pretty run-of-the-mill. I like that the guy gets out all three big boss monsters, and he does it with actual special summoning strategies, not just rush, summon. So that's good, but all in all, just a pretty standard duel. This was mostly a filler episode, but it's fun. And then we of course end with something that really made me laugh, because there's going to be a final joke, but I didn't think it would be this kind of out there and goofy, and that is Rook made the newspaper put a picture of him as king and everyone else as his servants. I don't know, it just makes me laugh. I normally don't like these ego-driven asshole characters, especially when they're in the best friend role. It's kind of alright for rivals, like your Sawatoris or characters like that, but it's just so likable here. Oh, and of course, Roman gets the other scene of the episode the whole internet's talking about, where she's the sassy reporter, just sort of messing with the newspaper. That was also super cute and super funny. All in all, this is not the most important episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Ever. Would it have been cool if we went on hiatus on a much more exciting thing, more to do with the rival? Yeah, but I think it's fun, I think it's cute, and I do like the way the plot is progressing, and I like that every idea our characters come up with always feels logical and feels like the logical move for them. So yeah, that was this episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7. So now for the TCG question of the week. I'm sorry, but because this was the big announcement of the week, I feel like it should be addressed. So, Eternity Code, the most elusive set in Yu-Gi-Oh!, now has its official release date for June 6th. At least I think it's that. And so I would like to pose the question to you: if everything isn't fully functioning again, which it won't be, should they move the date back even further? Because some areas, obviously, some areas are opening up now, some areas are still waiting a little bit and will begin opening in slower phases, but it stands to reason it's going to be hard for card shops to get functioning again without locals to support them, which they probably won't be able to do to have that many people gathered in what is usually a fairly small space. Also, I'm noticing a lot of big retailers, due to all the funk society is in, are having trouble getting their new cases of product, and a lot of big stores' card walls are kind of barren because there's just no one to deal with it. And so it stands to reason it will take a while before they could maybe even get to putting Eternity Code on the shelves. So my question to you is, do you think we should delay it so that way everyone has a fair shot to get it? Or do you think at this point just release it and let whatever will be will be? At this point, definitely would do the second one. There's nothing even that groundbreaking in this set. But at this point, I could definitely see the argument, especially if you're really excited for stuff in that set. So tell me that below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and we'll all keep coming up with something to talk about. Probably time to work on the Shadowverse video.